Hey, everybody with anxiety versus anxiety about anxiety. My name is Red Staffstrom. When Keith asked me to come on, he asked me to tell my story, but I'm not going to do that. Something came up that I think is much, much more important, much more impactful for you guys. This is a story about anxiety, depression, coping mechanisms, and a disease called Wolff Parkinson White. It took me 29 years, 10 months, and 1 week to figure out how my brother ticked. 29 years, 10 months, 1 week. This is despite us spending countless hours together talking about everything. 1 week later, he was gone. He had we assume at this point, a fatal heart attack less than 14 hours ago as of this recording. If you don't know what Wolff Parkinson White is, and I'm going to try to explain it to the best of my limited capability, it's a genetic condition. It's a genetic condition that where there's an extra electrical impulse in your heart. Makes it seem like you're having an extra heartbeat sometimes. It's something he has and something I'm confident that I have. It's basically a low-level panic attack at all times is the best way to explain it. And it took me all of this time, almost 30 years, to realize the impact that had on him, the impact that it's made on his overall personality. And it's what ultimately killed him, as far as I know right now. The way that I finally understood it is we started talking about movies in a way that we always did. And we started talking about the sound, the score behind it. And the analogy that I used that really hit home for him was Jaws. Jaws was one of our all-time favorite movies growing up. He was obsessed with sharks. He would actually take Shark Week off a lot of years. The way we came to understand it, and that me and him kind of agreed on the definition. I kind of came up with it and he agreed to it. If you've ever watched Jaws without the music, it's cartoonish. It looks like the shark is something out of the Hall of Presidents at Disneyland. It's mechanical, it's jerky, it doesn't look right. But when that music is there, it's terrifying. What WPW did to my brother is had that Jaws theme playing in his head 24 hours a day. And it impacted every level of his personality. And once I understood that this week, everything about him clicked into place. Everything. He's always been the funny one in the group. He's always been the one who was very first to make a joke, no matter how awkward the situation is. Now I understand that was a defense mechanism. It was a coping mechanism because he really can't stand having that tension go up to 11 the way most of us can. Because what we see as a 10 or 11, he's seeing as 25, 35. Because he has that score, that done in the back of his head at all times that none of the rest of us ever did. He hears it, we don't. The way he drove like a grandma. He drove extremely slow, especially me and my dad, who are commuters, who 70 plus miles an hour is the minimum. We get upset if somebody's not driving at least 70. He drove the speed limit, period. He didn't go 56. He drove the speed limit, and that's if he even hopped on the highways at all. He tried to avoid those as much as possible. He didn't like driving around town either because all of the stops and starts and people who might be rear-ending you and all of that and not knowing where he's going, that terrified him too, because it's not the same for him as it is for many of us. He never really applied himself at work. He was one of the smartest people I've ever met, and I'm not eulogizing here. He had that ability to take things apart and understand things, but he would never did anything other than manual labor, grunt manual labor, because the stress of, say, a sales job, which I'm in, he wouldn't be able to handle that. He wouldn't be able to handle people being upset with him. In fact, that was most of his personality. He would go above and beyond. And I know everybody says this about people after they die, but he really would. He did so much for other people at risk to himself. He was the very first one to try to make people laugh and help everybody. But it was because of himself, because otherwise the Jaws theme just kept getting louder and louder in his head. He couldn't take it when people were upset with him because it was just nails on a chalkboard. It was just constant anxiety. He was also an alcoholic. He was also a heavy smoker. Now, that's part of the problem. That's part of the reason he's not here now, is because he was a heavy drinker, and therefore doctors tended to dismiss him. They said, quit drinking, quit smoking, you'll feel better. No, they didn't understand that the drinking and the smoking had nothing to do with the disease. That was him trying to treat the disease. That was him stuffing cotton balls in his ear because 24 hours a day, he heard this air raid siren. I wish I knew this sooner. I wish I could have gotten to him sooner. I don't know if it would have changed anything. Based on the disease and what happened, it seems like it was just a ticking clock, no matter what. It doesn't, but I could have had more time with my brother. I could have talked to people about letting them know that the tough love doesn't matter. It just ratchets up the panic attacks even further. The tough love is actually hurting him because all you're saying is, yeah, just get over it. You need to do this. And he can't because he's paralyzed with fear. Everything he's doing is this adrenal, amygdala like response, this fight, flight, or fight emotion. Every fight, flight, freeze emotion. Everything he did, fight, flight, freeze. Even when we would ask him to hang out, when we would say, hey, let's play board games, let's go watch a movie, he was very slow to commit because he didn't know, because he was nervous about everything. I wish I knew this sooner. I wish we could have helped him sooner, and I don't know if it would have changed anything. I don't think it would have, but it would have given me more time with my brother. If you have anxiety or you know somebody with anxiety, try explaining it this way. Try explaining them that it's the Jaws theme going in your head 24 hours a day and they just can't hear the music. Let them think about it that way when they try to tell you to get over it. I don't know if it'll change their opinion. I don't know if it'll change their behavior. But articulating it that way may help you. And it may help others. If you have family members, look at it like that. I'm not telling you everybody needs to be coddled. Some people do need a boot in the ass. But my brother didn't. That was the wrong choice. And it took me almost 30 years. 30 years I won't really ever get back. 30 years where I could have helped him. And I didn't. I wasn't smart enough. I didn't have the tools to. I'm not saying this to blame myself, but I want you guys to know what I lost because I didn't have this information. Me not having this information didn't cost the life of my brother, but it cost me time with him. Maybe he could have found therapy, learned ways to cope with it. I don't think apart from a surgery to do the ablation on his heart, I don't think anything would have changed. That's scheduled for this Thursday. He was a week away from getting it taken care of. Less than a week away. He's not coming back. He's not coming back. Use this information to save somebody you know. Use this information to save somebody you care about. I hope you guys stay healthy. I hope you guys take a look, not just in treating the anxiety, treating the causes, whether it's something medical, something wrong with you, something wrong with your heart, or something trauma-based. I wish you guys all the best. I don't want anybody to go through what he did. I seek help. Seek help. Once again, this has been Red Staffstrom. I'm the host of the Broken Salespeople podcast. If you'd like to listen, I talk about sales and emotional intelligence. Kind of a joke now, isn't it? A little bit of a joke if I studied and learned a little sooner. Please, please, please reach out to your loved ones. Reach out to yourself. Tell them what you need. Thank you so much for having me on. Look forward to talking to you guys again soon.